it's 4 o'clock. It's my Facebook Live of many, many months. So thank you all for your patience. I hope you have all had, a don't want to say an okay time. I obviously hope you've had an okay time, but inevitably it's been a bit up and down. I'm sure that wasn't just me experiencing that or still experiencing some of that. But on the whole, I hope you are feeling well. Give me a shout out if you're here. I think there's sometimes a little bit of a delay between you popping something in the post or just give me a like or a heart or something like that because it's really cool. They go across the screen and it's a bit like having a little drug trip. I wouldn't really know, but like one imagines. Right. Stop rambling, Charlotte. I'm excited, as you can see, to be back. September, clean pad, fresh term feel. So, what I wanted to talk about today, and do let me know you're here so that I can see some numbers going up. So, just always nice to know one's not just talking to oneself. Those of you who've done fringe theatre know this experience of performing to 3 people. It's always nice just to get a gauge of the audience. So, today I want to talk about realistic thinking and positive thinking because we can be very binary, which means that there's an either or. There's not loads of options. There's one option or the other option, and that's it. And this is mainly because our brain is a computer that is pretty binary. We know that computers are run on a binary code of zeros and ones, and the brain is kind of similar to that. So it kind of thinks there's this either or situation. And whilst that makes life simplistic, it's not necessarily the truth. Sarah, thank you. Yes. Hello, Christopher. There are just, life's more interesting than this binary option. And where I saw a client have a really big breakthrough, I wanted to share what I was talking with her when she had that breakthrough. Because she felt like she had to choose between being realistic and being positive. And positive was sort of seen as maybe slightly deluded. And realistic was inevitably holding her back because positive says, I can do this. Realistic says, well, I don't know, maybe you can't. And so I'm going to suggest maybe at least 4. So we've got negative thinking, glass is half empty. Then we've got realistic thinking, which is very much dependent on the person who's describing that because reality is a personal perspective. Right, we like to think there's one truth, one reality, but it's a personal perspective, and I'll come back to that. So negative, reality, realistic thinking. Positive, I can do this. And then deluded, it'll all be fine. La 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 la, Disney film, okay? So there's not 2 options. You do not have to choose between what you believe to be realistic and therefore logical and intelligent versus being la 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 la, I can be whatever I want to be, anything's possible. We absolutely, if we're trying to do something that isn't the most probable or the most easy thing, which as actors and creators you are, statistically, and I did a video on what we do about the statistics of how likely it is, we can get kind of bogged down with the what we call the reality of that. And yet at the same time, if we don't believe something's possible, because we're being realistic, we will hold ourselves back. So first to lay out this sort of like 4 chunks: negative, realistic, positive, and then deluded. Do not confuse positive thinking with la la la, I'm just a naive child playfully skipping through a meadow. You can totally be realistic and also positive. Okay, so we need to be pragmatic, we need to be practical. That's why we like to think of running our business as a business. So we're doing practical things. We're thinking about networks, relationships, marketing, growing as a creator, growing as a business owner. And that's our practical. That is us totally living in reality. But we also need to aspire to be out of the average. And therefore we have to have a thinking that's sort of beyond our current reality. So let me go back to what I was saying about how reality is a perception. So whilst we like to think that reality is out there and we all see it, that is not the case. And if we just take the simplest thing of any of our senses, so the eyes don't really see, the eyes take in light, which is an information, a vibration that's read by the brain, decoded by the brain. Sound, again, is a wave that the ear captures, but it is the brain that decodes it. And with all of our senses, it is the brain that decodes it. And your brain has what we call confirmation bias or subconscious biases. So your brain is not interpreting it completely neutrally. So reality is therefore a perception of the individual. So if you, we like to think of it really logically, that my reality, or what I believe to be realistic, is based on what I've learnt and what I've experienced. And based on what I've learnt and I've experienced, I decide whether something is realistic or not. Now, obviously, people learn different things and people experience different things, and that's why people's perception of what they're calling reality differs, and we kind of all argue about how the world is, because it is not one way. So, it is quite mind-bending stuff. So it seems really sensible that our reality is stuff that we've learnt and stuff that we've experienced, and from that basis, I'll decide whether it's realistic to be an actor, or realistic to run a marathon, or realistic to write a book, or whatever I decide. But of course, when you're trying to stretch yourself, you've actually got to try and find something outside of your learning and experience. Because often what we've learned can be a program. Yeah, people have taught us things at an age before we could discern, analyze, and filter. And so you could look at learning as programming. And what did I say for experience? Oh, and experience being confirmation bias, in that there is this loop that when you perceive the world to be a certain way, you filter out anything that doesn't match that belief system. So if reality is a belief system and what you want to do feels like it's not possible within that belief system, we have to change that belief system. So when we're changing limiting beliefs, we are essentially changing your concept of reality. Because at the moment, reality's here, and so you want something that's outside of your reality. Otherwise, you'd be experiencing it in the here and the now. And we can look at other people experiencing it and go, well, it's clearly possible because people are doing it. But we can also look at the numbers and go, but is it probable? And I always say, don't confuse probable with possible. So you do not need to be deluded to be positive. You do not need to skip without any concept of being a practical, pragmatic, intelligent person. And nor do you need to be negative so that you can prove yourself right. Because we do like to be right. And sometimes that's the biggest thing you need to sacrifice. Because I kind of think trying to be an actor, trying to do something beyond the normal is a bit like going for the love dream. You have to kind of look a little bit foolish. You have to ignore the divorce statistics. You have to kind of really just work hard to make it work and bring into your belief system, if it isn't already, the belief that it is totally possible. So that's what we're trying to do. So it's to get rid of this idea that don't let negative thinking hide under the banner of realistic thinking. Yeah. So people will tell you, is it realistic? What they really mean is it possible? Well, of course, what you're trying to do is possible, because we can name lots of people who are doing it. Is it probable? Maybe not, but it's really hard. But is it possible? Yes. So once we've decided it's possible, unless there's something else you'd rather be doing, we go for it, even though we know it's challenging. I personally, and anyone who's worked with me knows this is my feeling, that whatever difficulty we come across is what makes us grow into our true potential. So we've deliberately chosen something difficult in order to stretch ourselves into that true potential. But along the way, we kind of moan about the fact that it's difficult. But really, hey, Andrew, we on some level, we want to do something. We want to stretch out of the average, out of the norm. And so in order to do that, we can't have the thinking of the masses, if that makes sense. The thinking of the masses will produce the results of the masses. And you're trying to do something that the mass of people don't tend to do, which is go for an amazing creative dream. So on the whole, people tend not to, massive generalization, but on the whole, people tend to go and get a job and do slightly more sensible, practical, secure things. And we're aiming for something outside of that. So in a way, that reality is of no interest to me and should really be kind of no interest to you. Because like I say, reality is a perception. It's a set of beliefs. It's a set of experiences. The beliefs you have bring in more experiences. So if you're not getting the experiences you want that help the belief, we need to start with the belief. So I think, and I'm trying to think, this may even be in Tim Ferriss's book, which I talk about quite a lot, the 4-hour work week, the 4-hour work week. Which might be handy for anyone to read to get a kind of side job that's not taking up loads of your time, right? But equally, there's some really cool mindset things in there. And he talks about that, and maybe it wasn't him, but I'm going to say it's him, that optimistic people tend not to be right as often as realistic or negative people. So we do sacrifice being right because we're trying to do something unlikely. We're stretching a boundary. So whilst we sacrifice being right until we are right, until we make it happen, of course. But but optimistic people are happier, healthier, and more successful because they push the perception of what is possible or what is likely out further and further and further. So that's what we want to do. We want to just stretch our sense of reality even bigger so that the thing you're trying to do exists in your realistic thinking. If there was a bubble that was your reality and you believe it's totally possible to do the thing you're doing, then that's your reality. That is you being realistic. But if it's outside, like it feels like it's not realistic, you need to bring it inside and understand that your perception of reality, and that's all it is fluid. So it's not definite, it's not one thing, it's changeable. So you can have your cake and eat it. You can be realistic. You can bring further things into your reality bubble, expand it. The more we ask questions, the more we're likely to open out into that really expansive space where we can pick something which is essentially unknown, okay? And Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about taking something from the quantum field is always going to be unknown. Because to pick a known is to pick something that's in your current reality bubble. Now, chances are, like I said, what you want is outside of that. And so we have to sort of call it in as an unknown. And so instead of planning exactly how your career is going to go, of course, you're going to take action. But on a practical level, you're going to take action. But equally, we can move into asking questions just to open up to the possibility of seeing something else. And just a final thought before I wrap up. Because these are little mini mindset masterclasses. If you don't fully understand confirmation bias, I'm going to find a really good video to show you. But also think about the Google search engine. So the first time we had the internet, if you and I did a search for something, the same results would come up for you as they would for me. After a while, Google gets to know Charlotte and gets to know Sarah and Christopher and Andrew and all the other people on here and says, oh, no, I'm going to tailor the results for you because I know you now. And so you don't get an organic search, you get a tailored for you search. And so there's a whole load of opportunities and news articles and stories and things that you will never ever see in your Google search because they've tailored it for you. Our brain does something very similar. There are a whole load of things we won't see out in reality because the search is being tailored by us. So when we say this is what reality is, that is what we will see. That will confirm back to us that we were right. We get to be right. But sadly, if our option is not in there, we lose out. Make sense? Whereas when we go, okay, how do I get around that then? Because how do I seek for something outside of my bubble? When we go to the unknown, I'm suggesting this tool of asking questions. What might it look like? What else could I see? What else is out there? And so we use our imagination in a way to expand out of what can be quite a limited bubble. So you do not have to abandon being practical. It's not an either or situation. You can be both positive and optimistic whilst also having your feet firmly on the ground and doing the work of a business owner. So that's what I wanted to tell you today. I hope that has reframed or shifted something for you. If this was too fast, because I am a little adrenaline-y, then it will be in the videos page of my, should be on, hopefully on both my group and my page, depending on how you got this. So you can watch it again and even slow me down so it makes sense. This is the power. So I'm going to be here every Monday doing mindset mini masterclasses, lots of M's in there, M&M's, every Monday at 4. So I hope to see you then. And if anyone's got a burning issue, email me info@charlottethornton.com and I can do a mini mindset on it if it is, not totally bespoke to you, but something that would be easy to do in sort of 10-15 minutes and also applicable to more than just one person's very unique situation. So that's info@charlottethornton.com if you've got a question that you want me to talk through. But if not, I'm just going to be cherry picking things that happen, on some of my workshops and some of my one-to-ones and go, I bet this is an issue other people are having. So I thought I would bring that to you. So good luck with your positivity and optimism. Embrace it. Embrace the fact that if it's outside other people's reality, they will think it's unrealistic, but that doesn't mean that it is. Cool. Have a great week and I will see you back here on Monday.